What's up guys, welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. Today we're going to be talking about Cloud and why I think he's going to be one of those commanders that can end the entire game with just one attack. But before we get into that, if you guys want 20% off your Tolarian Library proxies, you can use code DT4D at checkout. Additionally, if you guys want a free 15 bucks, you can click on that Whatnot link in the description down below. Free money helps out the channel. Another thing that really helps out the channel is liking, commenting, and subscribing. Now let's get right into what Cloud does and how I think we can build this deck to make it to where we end the game as soon as we attack with him with a meaningful board state. The first thing this guy is a Naya commander at 5 CMC. He has haste, which is going to be very useful whenever he enters the battlefield. We can just equip one of our equipment right to him, so we're cheating equip cost. That's pretty useful. And then the ability that I'm looking at that really breaks this guy is whenever he attacks, we get to draw a card for each attacking creature that is equipped. And then additionally, we get to generate 2 treasure tokens if his power is above 7. Now, how are we going to break him with that ability? We're going to be using 4 Mirrodin creature cards, or equipment cards, that enter the battlefield, and then they instantly create a creature token and equip that equipment to it. Another thing that works is Living Weapon. So now, whenever we're casting our equipment spells, they're already going to have creatures that are equipped to them. So that gets rid of one of the steps. And then we just attack and we draw cards equal to our board state, essentially, since all of our equipment is already equipped to creatures. From there, we want to use some equipment that generate mana, like your Sword of Feast and Famine, your Reaver Cleavers, and any other sort of equipment that's going to generate mana whenever we deal combat damage. There's a couple out there, and there's even stuff like Bear Umbra that will additionally protect Cloud. From there, we need extra combat steps and haste. This is going to allow us to draw even more cards, allowing us to kind of just go through our entire deck. What it's going to look like is we attack with Cloud. Let's say we draw 5 cards because we have 5 creatures on the battlefield. And let's say he has the Reaver Cleaver attached to him, so he's going to generate 5 mana. This is going to allow us 5 opportunities to draw into an extra combat step. If we get an extra combat step, not only do we get to cast it with the mana we generated, but maybe we can even generate even more mana, allowing us to cast more for Mirrodin cards, allowing us to attack with them as well. Again, that's where the haste portion is going to be pretty important, but you can kind of make a storm deck that storms through combats. You draw the combat steps, you play more creatures, the creatures have haste, you attack with the creatures are equipped because they're 4 Mirrodin and Living Weapon equipment, and then that's just going to allow us to draw more cards. Kind of broken, and I kind of think we can get there. One attack, win the game with Cloud. Let's talk about some card choices that I would want to put in this build, and like, comment, and really let me know if you want me to flesh out this build because I think it's going to be pretty fun. The first card I instantly thought of as an auto include was Nahiri Forged in Fury. She has affinity for equipment. She does cost 6 mana, but again, we can reduce that heavily. And then whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. You may cast equipment spells without paying their mana cost. So now we're able to attack with our entire board state. We're able to play all of our 4 Mirrodin and Living Weapon cards for free, and then additionally, she's going to help us find those extra combat spells we need to keep kind of storming off, getting these additional combat steps and killing our opponents. Helm of the Host also seemed super broken here. This is going to give us 2 Cloud copies. And remember, Cloud has that ETB that allows us to take an equipment and instantly equip it to him. So as long as we can instantly make that Cloud copy 7 power, that's going to allow us to attack and make double the treasure tokens. So now we're generating 4 treasure tokens instead of just 2 every turn. And then additionally, we're drawing double the amount of cards, allowing us to draw into more of our equipment creatures and more combat steps. Cutsil also seemed like a no-brainer here. Not only do we kind of want to feel protected on our turn, equipment decks kind of get blown out by just one single target removal spell, so now they can't really interact, and additionally, we get more card advantage every single combat, which is going to be very welcomed. Same with Professional Facebreaker, right? This is going to allow us to generate even more treasure tokens and more card advantage, because now we can even exile the treasure tokens we're making from Cloud to exile the top of our library to hopefully find more of those extra combat steps. Remember, at some point, we are going to be okay on mana. There's a lot of mana generation that resets on combat that we're going to talk about later. Sometimes we're just going to need more cards, and this card can definitely get us there. Nayali is also going to be super solid here. Not only does he give all of our attacking tokens double strike, which is going to be all of our Living Weapon and 4 Mirrodin cards. Additionally, whenever one or more tokens you control attacks a player, exile the top card of your library during any of your turns you attacked with a token. You may may play that card. Kinda wordy, but we're getting 3 more cards every combat step and giving all of our tokens double strike. I'm loving it. Kellen is just one of those cards I love to put in these go wide equipment strategies. He's going to allow us, whenever we get a Pure Steel Paladin on the battlefield, to just equip all of our equipment to Kellen and just have a massive alpha strike to win the game. Additionally, even if we don't need him in his, creature form, we can just search up our library for an aura or equipment card and then put that into our hand. So he's a tutor that also acts as a game ender. I like it. He's also really good for any of our Sword of X and Y effects or any equipment that triggers on combat damage, since he has double strike. Alright, now we need mana to cast those extra combat steps. We have the Reaver Cleaver, Sword of Feast and Famine. Even the Aether Spark is going to be really good here. We can add 10 mana to our mana pool potentially. So these are all very good options. Then we can get some incremental mana gain with something like a Pit Boy or a Sword of Forge and Frontier. These are going to allow us to untap our lands or put additional lands into play. We can go straight up Clouth Unrivaled Ancient. This is going to allow us to get a ton of mana. Bear Umbra. There is no shortage of ways to generate mana on our turn during combat step in these colors. So the problem isn't even do we have enough of these effects to make this strategy happen. The problem is actually how many of these effects are too much to put in this deck. And then last but not least, we need our extra combat steps. Things like Anzrag the Quake Mole are kind of insane here, especially if we pair him with an equipment that gives him indestructible. This is going to allow us to essentially just wipe everybody's board while getting a ton of additional combat steps while also drawing a ton of cards. So this guy goes absolutely hard in this deck if we get the right equipment equipped to him, and it kind of results in us just winning the game if we ever get to activate his ability. Marag also seems very solid here. I like the fact that he's actually going to buff all of our creatures +1/+0 for each time they've attacked this turn. We are playing a lot of low to the ground creatures because, let's be honest, the majority of them are going to be tokens. So the fact that they're going to slowly get bigger the more combat steps we get is just going to ensure that we actually win the game the turn we go off. This is also going to be very good with Cloud just to get his power above 7. That way we can start generating those treasure tokens. Combat Celebrant seemed like a no-brainer, and then you have just straight up extra combat steps with things like Savage Beating, Great Train Heist, even things like Grim Reaper's Sprint and Hexplate Wallbreaker are going to be perfect here, especially Hexplate since it is already a 4 Mirrodin card. I'll leave you with this. If we get this video somewhere between 500, 700 likes, I'll just go ahead and rush this deck out, build it, and not wait for the set to release. I was going to wait for the set to release, but I just came up with this idea and had to get it out to you guys. With that being said, let's shout out those patrons. Irrelevant Chicken Salad, Creator, The Professional Heal, and Accessum. You guys are amazing. I hope this helped you guys in your deck building endeavors, and I will see you in the next one.